Here I have my guided doodling sheet for the Jeweled Leaves Mandala collection, and I'm going to be using a Sharpie. It's an ultrafine point. You can use a pencil, pen, marker, whatever you'd like for this doodling exercise. And the whole purpose of this is just to start getting into the flow to create doodles and marks for your collages. So it'll help you start coming up with ideas for your mandalas, for the edges and borders of any of your collages, and not just for the mandalas, but also for any of the collages that you make within any of our collections here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Starting in the first box here, we're going to start with lines. So just making lines equal length, equal distance apart along the top of this box. Just getting into a flow, not being concerned if they're exact. And then we're going to just think of other things, other patterns that we can do with lines, just making them different. So maybe doing long lines. Maybe do 4 long lines and then some short lines. Do 3. So whatever you're coming up with, we're just trying to come up with other patterns that we can do with lines. And again, not being concerned if this is exact, but just getting into a flow, seeing where your hands lead you. I'm just going across, keeping with the pattern of 4 lines that are long and 3 lines that are short. And then moving on, what else can we do with lines? Maybe doing 2 lines close, and then a line, 2 lines close, and then a line, and just keeping up with that pattern. And then what else can we think of with lines? We could go from long to short, and then back to long, and then creating just a pattern of going long to short, and then short to long. And again, not worrying about if it's exact, we're just coming up with ideas here. We could do lines this way, and then do lines across those. So coming up with a pattern like this. So intersecting lines. We can do lines that are thick and then thin. So you can just follow along with me or whatever you come up with on your own. So thick and thin lines. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go across this box and we're going to use the lines within the shape. So these are all the shapes that are within the Jeweled Leaves mandala. And we're going to think of things we can do with lines, creating patterns within the shapes. So I'm just going to go ahead. So maybe just do lines that are pretty much equal distance apart. Maybe down to the center. And then maybe over here I want to do just 3 lines. Whatever you can think of. And then moving across. So just thinking of what you can do with lines. Maybe I'll do all intersecting and connect these points here. Just seeing where my hands lead me. Now I can still continue to create some more lines like that. These intersecting lines, creating that neat pattern in the middle. And what else? Just coming up with, as I move through each shape, maybe lines that are horizontal and then lines that are vertical here. Just 2 lines there and 2 lines there. And the next thing I want to do is I want to consider lines outside of the shapes. So just anything that I could do with lines. I could do a long line, short line, long line, short line, long line. And then maybe on the opposite side do the same thing. Going from long to short to long again. Maybe I want to do a bunch of little lines at the bottom here. So just seeing where your hands lead you with lines. So maybe a line that ends up looking like a V. 2 lines looking like a V. And not worrying about what the overall design is. It's just a practice of getting into the flow and allowing your hands to move. Just creating marks and patterns on the outside of these shapes. So maybe just doing along one side, not making it symmetrical, but just seeing how that looks. So once you're done with creating a library of ideas here and then doing lines inside and outside, let's move on to the next box. So in this box, let's do circles. So we're going to just do a line of circles, equal size, moving across, equal distance apart, not worrying about if it's exact. It's a nice handmade marks that are not perfect. And then continuing, just coming up with ideas that we can do as circles, so different patterns. So maybe all these circles are going to be touching. 6 circles touching, maybe 1 circle, and then 6 circles touching. We could do circles within circles. I'm just appreciating that they're not all perfect, that they're nice handmade circles. You could do circles that are touching, going this way. Maybe coming up with a pattern. Or anything that's coming up for you. Just getting into the flow of making marks, making circles. We could do circles kind of in a pattern like this, going up and down. Wherever your hands are leading you. And then once you've come up with the ideas there, let's move into the shapes. So again, these are the shapes for the Jeweled Leaves mandala. And we're just going to come up with ideas for circles. So what kind of patterns of circles can we think of within the shapes here? You know, maybe I want to fill this whole bottom in with circles and see what that looks like. So anything that you can think of with circles within the shapes. And moving on, maybe I want to just do circles right here at each of these points. And then maybe circles within circles in the center. And moving on. Just getting in the practice of making circles. Fill that up with circles. So we've done inside the shapes, so now let's go back here and think of what we can do to add interesting circles outside of the shapes. Maybe circles with spaces in between them. All along the side here. Maybe circles on each of these points here. So just seeing where your hands guide you. Maybe extend these circles down and then do a bigger circle here and see how that changes the shape. Circles like that. Okay, so we finished getting a library of ideas here, doing the circles in the box, circles inside the shapes and outside the shapes. Now we're going to move on to the mandala, and we're going to think of ways that we can connect the shapes. So I'll show you what I mean, and I like to do this for demonstration using different colored markers. So we're going to take out some different colored Sharpies here. And you can do these all the same. I just wanted to make sure that you can see the difference in what I'm doing here. So I'm just grabbing a bunch of different colors. So thinking of ways that we can connect the shapes, and what we're going for is, if you can see within these mandalas, so these are all the same. This is all from the Jeweled Leaves collection, but all of these connections are different that we've come up with for each of these mandalas. So let's see if we can come up with some ideas on the doodle sheet here. So I'm going to just start with lines. I'm going to think of different ways to connect these with lines. So maybe connecting this point to this point. Again, not worrying about it if it's exact. And I'm just turning the page as I move along. So connecting the points with lines. Coming up with all the ways that we can connect these shapes within the mandalas. And they don't have to go together. We're just coming up with ideas. But maybe I want to connect this down to here with circles. Maybe 3 circles. Just coming up with ideas and turning the mandala as we go. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. I'm gonna go on with the yellow. See if we can see yellow on this. So just looking for ways that we can connect the shapes. So maybe here, we could do 3 lines connecting these shapes. And moving on, so we have 3 ideas there so far. How else can we connect the shapes of the mandala? Maybe I want to connect this shape to these just by doing circles. So this sheet will be going into our doodle library, and we can, well, we finished there. We can just pull these out when we're working on the mandalas to help us come up with ideas. So we're still working here, making connections between the shapes. So just using lines and circles. And if I don't have an idea right away, sometimes I just kind of turn it, looking up here. So maybe we want to extend this line to connect it. So just looking for ways. So I'm just making it like I'm following this line down. And over here. And the last one there. So just seeing how interesting this mandala is getting by adding these connections. And I'm just challenging myself to continue to come up with ideas to connect the shapes. Looking back down here. Moving up. So an obvious one would be to okay. And moving on, is there any other ways that we can connect it? There probably is. We can even connect this to this. So each line that we do is actually creating more shapes within the mandala. And there we are. And then I'm going to just see if there's anything else that I can think of. But this just gives me a lot of good ideas for when I'm doing my collage mandala. I can bring this down to there. This really makes a nice, could make a nice coloring page, because you can fill in all of those with different colors. And I think I'm done there. So this is going to help me come up with ideas as I work on my mandalas. I typically I keep this to the side as I work. Here I want to show you 3 guided doodling sheets from the Jeweled Leaves collection. And this is a perfect example of how constraints breed creativity. So when we give ourselves constraints or limitations, such as just doing lines, just doing circles, you can see all the ideas that come up that are completely different. And the same thing with down here, where we're looking for ways to connect the shapes with just lines and circles, how each one looks completely different. So by giving yourself limitations, you start looking for new solutions and new ways of doing things, and it just encourages curiosity. What if I try this? What else can I do? And then also just getting into that flow and allowing your hands to guide you. This is definitely one of my favorite activities to do when I'm not feeling creative, because it really helps me get into a flow and really builds my confidence as I just relax into the process and allow my hands to guide me. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me.